Today, millions of cats sleep comfortably inside human homes. They curl up on couches, stretch across beds, demand food at exactly the same time every day, and somehow convince humans to clean up after them. It's such a normal part of life that we rarely stop to question it. But if you think about it, the relationship is incredibly strange. Dogs make sense. Dogs help hunt. They protect territory. They guard families. For thousands of years, humans deliberately bred dogs for specific jobs. Cats are different. Cats don't pull sleds. They don't protect villages. They don't herd animals. Most of the time, they seem completely uninterested in helping humans at all. So why are they here? Why do more than 600 million domestic cats live alongside people today? And perhaps the bigger question is this: did humans actually domesticate cats? Or did cats choose us? The answer takes us back thousands of years, to a time when neither species knew they were about to change each other's future forever. Imagine standing in a farming village about 10,000 years ago. The Ice Age has ended. For the first time in human history, people are beginning to settle down. Instead of constantly moving across the landscape, they are planting crops, building homes, storing food, creating permanent communities. To humans, this feels like progress, but to another animal, it looks like opportunity, because wherever humans store grain, something else arrives. Mice, lots of mice. Imagine huge piles of harvested wheat sitting inside simple storage buildings. For rodents, it's paradise, an endless buffet, food everywhere, safe places to hide. Entire populations explode, and wherever mice gather, predators follow. Now here's the important part. Unlike wolves, ancient wildcats were solitary hunters. They didn't live in packs, they didn't cooperate, they didn't depend on humans. For thousands of years, they had survived perfectly well on their own. But then something strange happened. Some wildcats discovered that human settlements had become hunting grounds, not because humans were feeding them, because humans were accidentally feeding their prey. Think about that for a second. Humans weren't trying to attract cats. Cats simply noticed an opportunity. A village filled with mice was easier than spending days searching for prey in the wild, and so little by little, certain wildcats began spending more time near people. At first they stayed at a distance, watching, waiting, hunting. Humans probably barely noticed them. A quick movement in the shadows, a pair of glowing eyes at night, a silent hunter moving between grain stores. But unlike other predators, these animals weren't causing problems. They weren't attacking livestock. They weren't threatening children. In fact, they were reducing the rodent population. Without realizing it, humans and cats had entered a partnership, a completely accidental partnership. No agreements, no training, no plans, just mutual benefit. The cats got food, the humans got pest control, everyone won. And that's where the story could have ended. But it didn't, because over time, natural selection started working in a very unusual way. Imagine two wildcats. One is extremely aggressive toward humans. The other is slightly more tolerant. The aggressive cat avoids villages whenever people appear. The calmer cat sticks around. Which one catches more mice? Which one has easier access to food? Which one raises more kittens successfully? The calmer cat. Generation after generation, the cats most comfortable around humans gained an advantage. Not because humans were breeding them, because the environment favored them. This sounds fake, but scientists believe cats largely domesticated themselves. Unlike dogs, which humans actively shaped through selective breeding, cats seem to have taken a very different path. Humans didn't go looking for cats. Cats moved in on their own, and over thousands of years they gradually changed. Not dramatically, not all at once, but enough. Anthropologists and genetic researchers have traced modern domestic cats back to a species called the African wildcat. When scientists compared their DNA, they found something remarkable. Nearly every domestic cat alive today can be linked back to those ancient wildcats that first began living near human settlements. A decision made by a few curious hunters eventually shaped hundreds of millions of lives, but then something even stranger happened. The relationship became emotional. At first, humans probably viewed cats as useful animals, nothing more. A living pest control system. But humans are unusual creatures. We form emotional attachments easily, especially when an animal lives nearby. Imagine a child in an ancient village. Every day they see the same cat stalking mice around the grain storage. The cat becomes familiar, predictable part of daily life. Eventually names appear, affection appears, attachment appears. The relationship begins changing. What started as practical cooperation slowly becomes companionship. And evidence suggests this happened surprisingly early. Archaeologists discovered a 9,500-year-old burial site on the island of Cyprus. Inside was a human buried alongside a cat. Now remember this, cats were not native to Cyprus. Someone had transported that cat across the sea. Think about how much effort that would require in the ancient world. This wasn't an accidental passenger. This was a valued companion. A creature important enough to travel with, important enough to be buried with. That single grave reveals something powerful. Humans weren't simply tolerating cats anymore. They cared about them, and perhaps cats tolerated humans enough to stay. Over time, the relationship spread. As agriculture expanded, cats followed, villages became towns, towns became cities, and cats continued doing what they had always done. Hunting rodents, living alongside humans, benefiting from our presence. The ancient Egyptians eventually became especially fascinated by them. Cats protected grain stores, protected food supplies, protected livelihoods. In a world where a rodent infestation could destroy survival, cats became incredibly valuable. Some cats were treated with extraordinary respect. Art featured them, stories featured them. Entire cultures admired them. Yet despite all this attention, cats never became like dogs, and that's what makes them so fascinating. Dogs evolved to read human emotions with remarkable accuracy. Many dogs constantly seek approval. Cats remain different, independent, selective. Mysterious, even today, living with a cat often feels less like ownership and more like negotiation. You don't command a cat, you persuade a cat, sometimes, maybe, if the cat feels like it. And strangely, humans love them for exactly that reason, because their affection feels earned. A dog might greet almost anyone enthusiastically. When a cat trusts you, it feels personal, like you've passed some secret test. Now here's where the story becomes even more interesting. Modern research suggests cats actually form strong social bonds with humans. For years, people assumed cats were emotionally distant. Scientists now know that's not true. Cats recognize their owners. They distinguish familiar voices, they form attachments. They experience stress when separated from trusted humans. In other words, beneath the independent exterior, there is a genuine relationship. It just looks different from the one dogs offer. And maybe that's why cats became so successful. They didn't need humans completely. Humans didn't need them completely. Neither side surrendered its independence. Instead, both species found a balance. A partnership built on choice, not dependence. Cats stayed because life was easier. Humans welcomed them because life was easier. Then something unexpected happened. The practical relationship evolved into something much deeper. Today, people celebrate cat birthdays, create social media accounts for them, spend thousands of dollars on their care, mourn them when they're gone, love them as family members. All because thousands of years ago, a few wild hunters noticed an abundance of mice near human villages. A simple decision, a small opportunity, a tiny shift in behavior, and yet it changed history. Right now, somewhere nearby, a cat is probably sleeping peacefully, completely unaware of the extraordinary story behind its existence. Its ancestors once stalked through ancient grain stores under moonlit skies. They approached humans cautiously, not seeking friendship, not seeking love, just seeking food. But over generations, that cautious relationship transformed into one of the most successful partnerships in history. And perhaps the most surprising part is this. Humans didn't really choose cats. Cats didn't fully choose humans either. Both species simply discovered that life was better together. One side provided shelter, stability, and endless opportunities. The other provided protection from pests and eventually companionship. What began as convenience became connection. What began as survival became affection. So the next time a cat ignores you, steals your chair, or demands food 5 minutes before dinner, remember what you're looking at. Not a pet created through careful human planning. Not an animal designed to serve us, but the descendant of a wild hunter that saw an opportunity 10,000 years ago and decided to stick around. And in doing so, quietly convinced humanity to make room for cats forever.